Welcome to Kupuna Wisdom, Conversations with Enlightened Elders. I'm Amora St. John, and I am speaking to you today from this beautiful store called Awakening in Paradise in Kihei on Maui, where I now live, and it is filled with beautiful handmade silks and clothing, and I'm wearing an outfit from the Kathmandu collection. And I want to thank Judy Levy, who is the owner of the store, Awakening in Paradise, and her creative partner, Lavana Taylor, for creating this set for us. We've converted the store into a set, and I'm thrilled that our studio audience is here today, and that I am with one of my favorite people I know, the Reverend Kedar St. John. And we're no relation, Kedar, but I know that we are related in spirit. So welcome.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be a Kupuna? Do you feel like you're a Kupuna? I want to tell our listeners and our viewers that Kupuna means what? An elder, right? It
means elder, yes. I'm kind of working into it.
Yeah?
It doesn't feel like it's completely settled in, but I realize that on some level that's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you and I both know Auntie Kua.
Yes.
And she was the one who made me a Kupuna, just by saying, you are one, if you have the wisdom that comes with age. Do you feel that yourself?
I do. I think I'm wiser now than I was when I was really younger. I think I make better decisions. I think I have a much better perspective on life and circumstances, and I'm able to reference things, life's experiences, in such a way that can help people. So I feel good about that.
Yes. I didn't say in my introduction that you are the minister of the Temple of Peace in Haiku, right up the hill on Maui. And it is the most adorable church I've ever been in my life. It's a church of song and music and dance and festivities and love and connection. And if I had nothing else to do, I would do a reality TV show around it, because the cast of characters that show up. So tell us how that happened for you.
Well, it was a long time ago. Actually, I had a vision. I was in Nepal, and I was sitting by a lake called the Fewatau, a place called Pokhara, where there's a 26,000-foot mountain in the backdrop and 1,000 varieties of butterflies.
Mm.
And it was a very, very serene place. And one day I was sitting there just watching the sunrise, and I had this vision of a place called the Temple of Peace, I guess. And I was flown around it, and I used to think that it was this really big place. And it was a place where people of all faiths could come. It didn't matter which religion they were, which faith, which culture they're from, they could come there and feel that they were welcome. And so I held that vision, and I wrote a song at that time about this place called the Temple of Peace. And it became my visioning song for, I would guess, close to 20 years.
Wow.
And I would speak my vision to so many different people, and I would sing my song. And eventually, in 2000, I actually got this message that it was time for me to go and sing on Sundays. And Spirit spoke to me and said, "You show up, and I'll be there with you. It doesn't matter if anybody's there." So I did that. I started singing on January 1st, 2000. I started singing on Sundays. And
Where were you then?
we were above the Dragon's Den in Makawao.
Oh, okay.
In a little office there, little conference room. And I just started singing, and people started coming.
Wow.
And then eventually, I started singing in somebody's house, and we'd have like maybe 30, 40 people show up on Sundays. And then finally my friend said, after several years, they said, Kedar, we love you. And but the lady of the house, she said, I just can't handle another Sunday where 40 or 50 people show up.
Uh-huh.
And they said, and I said, well, I guess it's time for me to take a little sabbatical. And so I did. And when I came back from that sabbatical, a friend of mine emailed me, and she said, Kedar, I haven't seen you do the Temple of Peace in a while. There's a church that's lying empty next door. I think it's your church. I said, great, let me go check it out. I checked it out, fell in love, and 9 months later, from the time that that happened, Temple of Peace was in our hands, and we we turned it into this beautiful place.
About the time it takes to birth a baby, right?
Yes, it was like that.
You like your own baby.
Yeah,
but you have has a mama too, Shelley, your
yes,
wonderful
my wife
wife.
Shelley and my son Nick.
Uh-huh.
So he's a great kid.
He is. My favorite part of the service, Kedar, is when he comes up and reads the ideas for living for the day. He chooses it, right?
Yeah, well, he does.
He's 15.
I've asked him to just do one thing for me, and that's the one thing I ask him to do.
Uh-huh.
You know, being the son of a minister, sometimes the kids, they just don't want anything to do with what their parents are doing.
Right.
And so I've been very, very careful about that. And asked him, if you just read one verse on Sundays, that you pick it out, that would be so good. I'd love that.
Yeah.
And he does.
It's just the sweetest thing to see him up there, and you beaming, and Shelley beaming, and the dogs running around, and all these great people that come through Maui wind up at the Temple of Peace, because we don't have a lot of availability of places for people to come, because they close down Studio Maui, and I love that we have this show now that can provide a forum for some of the great spiritual teachers coming through, who are our Kupunas.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I love the people that come through the Temple of Peace. Sometimes there's so many things going on that I don't even know what's going on. So I'm thoroughly surprised when something happens, and it's really great.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun, because you never know what's going to happen there. Yeah. And you just got back from Honolulu.
I did, yes.
With Shelley, and you had something great happen there a while back.
Yeah, actually, we were invited over to an investiture of a knighting ceremony at the Kauai House Church. And this is something which was not on my radar. I was nominated, and Shelley was nominated, to become the first knights in this order. It's a 1,000-year-old order. It's not the Illuminati, and it's one of those orders. It's a charitable organization that was begun by the Knights of Hospitallers, St. John. So we were the first St. Johns to be knighted into the organization in Hawaii. And as far as the Contessa was concerned, she didn't know any other St. Johns that were in the Order of St. John.
Wow. So now you are a Duke?
No, my official title is that I am Knight of Grace, Reverend Kedar St. John. And so, but you can just call me sir.
Okay, good. Yes, sir.
No, you don't have to call me sir. It's a very special honor, I felt. It was like amazing. You walk into this beautiful Kauai House church, and it's the church tradition. It's the only church in the United States where coronations have taken place. And so this order is coming from the Russian Orthodox priory. It was protected by one of the emperors of Russia, and there it remained for many years until the revolution, and went underground and ended up in New York. And just this year, the first time in Hawaii that any knights have been knighted into this order for 200 years. The last knight that was Hawaiian was King David Kalakaua. Yeah, so it was the whole thing. The knights of the Order of Kamehameha were there, and they were doing their protocol chants, and it's just something surreal. You're standing in this church, and then you're called up to kneel before the Contessa, who's in her 90s. She's the great granddaughter-in-law of Catherine the Great, from the Romanov family. So yeah, it was amazing, and then the sword.
There's a lot of pomp and circumstance here, kind of like England, isn't it?
It is.
And you're from New Zealand.
I'm from New Zealand, yes.
And what is it about the Hawaiian culture, Kedar, that makes it so, I don't know, I wrote some stories for Kaola magazine with Auntie Kua. I interviewed her, and she was saying that we have an energy here and an obligation as a result of the Aloha spirit to spread it around, which I'm hoping we're doing today, and to honor our elders and honor the tradition, which we don't do so much on the mainland.
That's right.
Why is that?
I don't really know why that is. I think that the culture here for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, has been to honor the elders and to honor their wisdom, rather than put them away and hide them. The Hawaiian culture is such that a lot of the information and the genealogies are passed down by oral tradition, The Hawaiian language itself is an oral tradition. And in many ways, I think that the culture was preserved in the language.
Uh-huh.
And so they were able to revive the ancient hula, which now is thriving in Hawaii. There are Hawaiian immersion programs for the kids to learn Hawaiian. It's become a second language in some of the public schools. So the culture is alive and well here. Yeah. And those of us who have the honor of being here in Hawaii, I've been here for 23 years, the spirit of aloha, once it captures you, it's amazing. It's all over. It doesn't matter where you live. You could be living on the mainland, but all of a sudden you now have relocated to Hawaii. And recently I was actually in China where with a friend of mine, DC Cordova, and she's teaching win-win principle, Buckman support principles to young Chinese entrepreneurs. And one of the principles that she teaches them is aloha.
Uh-huh.
So we went over there last year sometime, and it was amazing to come into this room where there's like 400 Chinese young entrepreneurs, and they introduced us, and they all ran towards us shouting, "Aloha!"
Wow, so cool. There is something about the aloha spirit, though, that seems to pervade the place.
Yes.
And everybody's happy here. They're on vacation, or they're just happy to be on Maui. That, even the littlest of jobs is fine for them as long as they can be in paradise.
I think that the ocean nourishes us.
Yeah.
The air nourishes us.
I know.
The land, everything nourishes us. The waterfalls, everything. The rainforest. It's I'm so blessed. Every day I wake up here, and I just thank God for another day in paradise.
Yeah.
I kiss the ground every time I come back.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So, Kedar, what do you do when you turn on your TV at night, and if you do that, and watch what's going on this planet, with global warming and climate change, and then we have the war going on, and then bullying in the schools, and there's just so much, I call it the 3D activity of the world. How do you cope with that, and what advice do you have?
Well, I really hold the spirit of aloha in my heart. And I know that, I believe that Hawaii, and specifically Maui, which I believe is like the heart chakra of our island chain, is the healing island.
Mm.
So in my mind, I imagine that the Pacific Ocean, the ocean of peace, around Hawaii, is a magnifying glass. And I imagine that the energy that we get to experience here on a daily basis, the energy that we create in our services, the spirit of aloha, that it permeates the planet.
My favorite aloha story is I was working with kids when I first got here over at the Fairmont, and I read this little book there about Barack Obama and Michelle, and she was talking about her husband, and she said, if you know how calm and cool Barack is, and nothing really seems to faze him, and he's just always so seemingly in his heart. Well, Michelle said, if you really want to know Barack, she said, you have to know Hawaii. And for me, that just said everything. He got that energy really, really early on, where it all counts.
Well, I think that I go by one of the philosophies that I go by is if you're on the path, you look for signs, and when you're off the path, you look for excuses. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's the litmus test here. Yeah. Am I looking for excuses, or am I looking for signs? Mm-hmm. And when I see an enlightened conversation take place on television, or something wonderful happens, there's a shift in consciousness, I believe that there's more light on planet Earth right now than there's ever been. I mean,
that's the good news, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at it, you think about like 25 years ago when we had Pol Pot and the killing fields.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything about that. Yeah. We had no idea. And yet it was going on right under our nose. And so now, even people in Africa, they have cell phones. And our politicians are having to be more transparent when they speak to us, because they can't say that they didn't say something anymore, because 50 iPhones were on them, and it was uploaded automatically to YouTube, and then posted on Twitter and Facebook.
Can't get away with anything.
You can't get away with anything. So if you say you didn't say it, well, somebody's going to say, well, you did say it.
Exactly.
So there's, I think, a sense of accountability, mm-hmm. and that to me is a sign.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a sign that the richness of the internet and cyberspace in general
Yeah.
is creating new cultures and cultures of awareness, because now we can compare notes in real time.
Yeah.
So much so that we can send photographs instantly, like what we're doing right
Well,
this
I know.
moment.
I call it the internet now, people's media.
Yeah, people's
And
media.
I want to thank my friend Chris Netzel, who's here with me today, because he's got that knowledge of the software to make all this possible. And I started out at NBC in Chicago when I was just graduated, and it was like big cameras and lights and activity and money, and then you had to make sure your show was approved by 20 people before you could get it on the air, and you were exhausted by the time you got there. And here, we can just keep it basically quick.
That's right. No,
And up we go.
I think that YouTube is the biggest television station on the planet.
Wow.
And that to me is a sign.
Yeah.
Kids doing this skateboarding is training wheels for levitation. Cell phones are training wheels for intuition.
Yeah.
Like, just thinking of you just a second ago. Our culture is becoming more aware.
Yeah.
This to me is all signs of the time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It doesn't worry you that Nick is on phone with his screen time. I mean, the kids are just so
I think
engrossed in the
it kind of
technology.
sorts itself out.
Yeah.
I used to be worried about it, and now I think that he's just learning levels of complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow or other, the kids these days, their cyber brains are open.
Yeah.
So, what was difficult for us, a learning curve, about 10 years learning curve to get kind of with the program. Even, 2-year-olds, they're there. I remember one time with my son when we were playing with the mouse. I showed Shelley, my wife, the mouse. I said, honey, there's the mouse. And she's like, where am I? Where am I? And my 2-year-old son showed her where it was. His Mom,
great.
It's right there.
Exactly. Tell us about your spiritual path. What do you do on a daily basis to keep you centered?
Well, I get up in the morning and I do some yoga.
Okay.
I jump on a little mini trampoline. Right? Trampoline is really good because it gets the lymphatic system going.
Yeah.
And we have yoga classes at the temple every 6 days a week.
Wow.
So sometimes I jump in there, sometimes I do my own practice, and I go for a walk, walk the dogs, look at the sunrise, embrace the sun, embrace the land.
Do you have a special spiritual teacher, somebody who's impacted you more than anyone else?
I have many, many spiritual teachers. I feel like I'm so blessed. I've had 3 Hindu teachers who were grandmasters in their 80s and even 90s, and they're no longer with me, but they're with me in spirit. And one of the foundations of the Temple of Peace is that Vedic lifestyle that I was brought up as. And I started at a very young age. I was really attracted to spirituality, probably from the age of 14, and started studying the Vedas. I actually became a Hindu monk.
I forgot that about you. That's right.
And so there's definitely that overlay, and then I got really interested in mysticism and mystic Christianity, Sufism, Tibetan Buddhism, shamanism, Hawaiian culture, Native American Indian. I'm kind of like a cosmic nut. That I just love everybody. Anything which is bringing people closer to themselves. I'm all about creating a space where Buddhists, where Jews, where Hindus, Christians, Native American Indians, Hawaiians, Taoists can all come to the same place of worship and feel like they're being honored and feel like they're being able to express their soul in the form of song. So we're very big on song because song is the universal language.
Right.
So I truly believe that when we sing songs, devotional songs, and songs which people can just, they don't have to be on stage, just singing a song.
Yeah.
That collective singing creates a fifth element, the element of love.
Opens up the heart.
It opens up the heart, and people, they have amazing healings.
Well, on that note, why don't you sing us a song? You brought your guitar.
Okay.
And you prepared a little something for our premier show of Kupuna wisdom.
Okay. I had a wonderful experience today, which is always an amazing experience for me. Sometimes we're critical of ourselves. We're the most critical of ourselves. So sometimes I think, well, maybe that was really a light temple, or sometimes it's just off the scale,
Yeah.
out of the park. But this lady came up to me today, and she said, this is the first time I've come here. And during the singing and a lot of the words, it meant so much to me. I realize now that I've had a healing today, and I am ready to take the next best step in my life.
Wow.
And so when I hear things like that, it just makes me so happy.
Better than paycheck.
Yeah, it's better than a paycheck. Yeah. So here's a song about that, recognizing time that we take to heal ourselves and love ourselves. My friend of mine, Michael Sewell. Take the time to love yourself. You are beautiful. Take the time to love yourself. You are beautiful. Beautiful like the sun on the water. Beautiful like the stars in the sky. Beautiful you are. So beautiful you are. I take this moment to remind you out there, take the time to heal yourself. You are beautiful. Take the time to heal yourself. You are beautiful. Beautiful like the sun on the water. Beautiful like McKenna Beach on Maui. Beautiful like Haleakala. Beautiful you are. So beautiful you
Wow. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I don't think I've heard that before, after all the times I've been to the temple.
are. So many songs.
Michael Stillwater, one of my favorite
He's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
One of my heroes. Okay. I have so many heroes who I consider my elders in the genre.
Well, Kedar, I'm hoping that this program will reach a lot of hearts and minds over the next period of months and years, and that we can leave them with a little bit of wisdom. So I wonder if you could kind of summarize that if you were sitting talking to Nick right now, and maybe you weren't going to see him again, what would you tell him?
I think I would refer back to that principle. When you're on the path, you look for signs. So many different signs. When you're off the path, you look for excuses. So am I making excuses for myself? Am I in this relationship and I'm making an excuse and justifying staying in this relationship or being abused in this relationship? What am I looking for? What's going on here? It's an excuse. And then something happens. And you get a vision outside of your normal frame of consciousness. And it's a sign. Or somebody comes up to you and they're thinking of you. You see it as a sign. Look for the signs to keep you on the path. And notice when you're making excuses. Notice when you say to yourself, well, it's because I'm not good enough, or I'm not feeling, worthy enough, or something. Then you're off the path. get back on the path and look for a sign.
I call those little voices in the back of your heads because I like to write kids' books. And then my latest one is called the Nini Nana Naglies. They're the big fat red lips that are constantly telling you what you did wrong, what you could do better, and I can see these big red lips. And at the end of the book, as the kids try to, tape them up and nail them to the wall and run away from them, none of it works. Until at the very end, guess what they do to kids?
They kiss them. There you go.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
So I'm looking for illustrators, if anyone's out there who would like to join me in this endeavor.
Fantastic.
Because we have to get to the kids early, Kedar.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're in trouble.
It's true. It's really true. And I think being loving and kind and being that place, I know that my son, that we provide for him a safe and loving environment. Yeah. And that's like, I don't want to tell him what to do, or, talk at him.
Right.
I want to give him information that's enlightening,
Mm-hmm.
that's elevating, and I think that he's doing a pretty good job in self-selecting the things which he shares with the entire congregation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every Sunday, which is really great.
One of my favorite things I've ever heard on television is one of Oprah's last shows. She had Shirley MacLaine on there, and they were talking about the horrible state of the planet, like I'd asked her earlier in that state of the world. And she said to Shirley, if you could just do one thing to turn it around, only one thing, what would it be? And Shirley was quiet for a long time in the world. And she said finally, I would teach the children to meditate.
There you go. It's so true. And they're very receptive too.
Uh-huh.
Aside from all the games and all the simulation and stuff like that, you get them in a moment of just reflection. They get it.
And I want to say this for all the world of Europe, whoever may see the show, that there is a vision that I hold here on Maui, is to create a school where kids can learn first that they're spiritual beings having a human experience, and that they go to a school that elevates them, and that they're excited to get to every day. I'm calling them soul schools.
Wow.
And Oprah said that she would let me know if you have this idea for a school. So Oprah, if you're listening, I have an idea here. The property's right next to your church. Haiku Farms is for sale.
Really?
And they would love this to be a school and an event center for children to really be who they are.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's hold that.
Yeah, let's hold that together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a sign.
It is.
Yeah.
So any final words?
And that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And if people want to find you, they can just simply go to Temple of Peace.
To templeofpeacemaui.com.
Okay.
And, revamping our website. Advancing from a 90s website to a 2013 website, and so we're really excited about that.
Very cool.
And also looking forward to bringing technologies like this onto our website so we can share it with more people.
Beautiful. And anybody coming to Maui, please do visit the Temple of Peace on Sunday mornings. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So, mahalo, Kedar.
Mahalo. Thank you very much.
And as they say in Hawaii, we're pau.